Good morning, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome again to Carolina Conservatives, or whenever that you are viewing this, tuning in to watch us. Boy, do we have an episode for you today, and it's going to be a two-parter. We're going to have an introduction for you today of two warrior women that have come on to discuss with us some of the things that are happening in our states, in our country. They are leaders of Protect NC Kids and Mom Army Charlotte, and we are thrilled to have them with us on Carolina Conservatives. I'm Dr. Nathan Street.
And I'm Pastor Alan Mashburn. I will not waste any time. I want to make this completely about these warrior women. And we all know nothing really happens until the women get involved. And we are proud of our warrior women, and Amen. We're proud of these two that we have on today. And as we always say on our podcast, where are the men? Exactly. So these women are a tremendous example of leadership and just getting out there in the forefront and fighting the evil of the day. So again, where are the men? That's always my question. But I want to have Dr. Street to make it all about them, and we'll hear about their introduction.
So Jessica Mullen and Lisa Metzger, we appreciate you joining with us today. Let's start with Lisa. Lisa, why don't you tell us about you and your organization, and then we'll come over to Jessica.
Sure. I'm with Mom Army Charlotte, and that's part of a national organization. This unit is actually based in Charlotte. And the national organization just decided that they were sick of what was happening in our schools, in our cities, and this agenda that's being pushed down our throats in America today, specifically the trans agenda, the gender transition agenda. And so Mom Army began, and Charlotte was one of the first little divisions or battalions, as we call them, in this area. So yeah, we're excited. I've been on the front lines of activism for quite some time, particularly in the abortion ministry area. And so this was just kind of a natural thing because the attacks on our children, and it went from in the womb, and now it's to outside the womb. When they can't get them inside, they're going to get them outside. So after they're born. So this was just kind of a natural progression for me to go forward with Mom Army and to develop a battalion here in Charlotte. And we have really taken a hold and joined with Protect North Carolina Kids in this war on our children.
That's awesome. Fantastic. Thank you for that. And Jessica, you're with Protect NC Kids. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Sure. So last year when we started seeing just the amazing amount of drag shows that were targeting our children, pride events, you name it. We kind of just thought, you know what, we're tired of this. There are lots of other parents, citizens, just anyone who cares about kids that want the ability to know what's going on in their communities and find out if there's other like-minded people that will stand with them. And that's how Protect North Carolina Kids started. So we definitely have moved into more of the area that is targeting our kids with drag events, chemical castration, puberty blockers. Like Lisa said, for many years, I've been on the front line with the abortion ministry as well. And we believe that protecting kids from the womb all the way through is so important. And that's what we stand for.
So this great introduction, and I appreciate that. So my question, you both mentioned the drag events and some of the trans ideology. There's no question about it that we are fighting a spiritual war here. This is something that Satan is trying to get a foothold in with our children so that he can destroy our children from the foundation, and that it will create a permanent leftist voting bloc. That's the reason why the Democrats are all behind it. And so my question then becomes, and let's just be honest about it. Let's just shoot straight. Why? Why is the trans community coming after the children? Why is the LGBT community as a whole? Why do you think, both of you think, that they are coming after children so hard and so openly right now?
Lisa, you want me to go first, or?
Go ahead.
I think what we have to realize is at the core, it's always important to look back in history. And it's so easy for us to look back to Nazi Germany and see, even from Hitler's own lips, that he made it very clear that if he could target children at a young age, that he could win an entire generation. Yeah. Okay, so what we have going on is a sexual revolution, I believe. So we kind of had this in the 60s and 70s and it looked different. But what we have now is over the top. It's something that has never happened with the target of our children. And what we're seeing are Marxist ideologies trying to be brought in at a level where children will be separated from their parents. And that is really one of the core beliefs of Marxism, is to have those children separated from the ideals, the morals that have been taught within the home. I can't tell you how many times I hear this time and time again. Christian families, conservative families have raised their kids with morals. They either go away to college or they get on social media. They're pulled away from those morals by the leftist ideologies, and they feel as if they're losing their children.
That's 100% right. And Lisa, I want to come to you about that same question, but I also want to throw this in there. We've seen states that have already become sanctuaries for kids who want to run away from their parents who maybe want to get sex changes before age 18. What is, the slippery slope of this that I see is, well, if you don't like Baptist theology, then you're going to run away from home because you don't want to be made to go to church, and you come to California or come to Oregon or wherever, and we're going to protect you. The state's going to protect you from that too. Where does this end, Lisa?
It doesn't end unless we put a stop to it and start standing for the children. And, you mentioned the spiritual aspect of things, and it really is a spiritual battle. The enemy is after our children because they are image bearers of God. And you see that because they're after those image bearers, they're opening up ways that if they can't get to them in one state, they're going to get to them in another. They're getting creative. And what we need to do is stay a step ahead of them. We need to be combating them ahead of them, being able to pass laws and pass statutes that would protect our children before they can come up with these ideas. We need to be in their brains thinking like they do and getting out ahead of them, protecting the children and the image bearers of God.
I can't agree more. I have often said that we are playing checkers while these leftists are playing 3D chess. I mean, we're conservatives are behind the eight ball on that. We've got to do a better job of thinking like they think and getting ahead of it. I completely agree. And thinking ahead of it, what is something that North and South Carolina could do if we get legislators that would actually open their eyes and see what's going on? What is something that our states could do to make sure that children who might try to escape to California, that we hold California accountable for what happens? Is there something there that we could do?
Well, I would just say that the legislation that's on the table right now that's trying to be pushed through is a great first step, because the way that it's worded would actually protect children who are under 18 from having any of these gender surgeries done, but it also would stop puberty blockers the way that they've written it. And so if a child wants to go to a different state, like you said, to have it done, the only thing that I can see that might work is if those parents are, or I should say, the children, as they become adults in the future, will be able to sue those doctors that perform those things. And they could also sue their parents. I'll be honest, that's a hard thing to say. But as parents, we are to protect the innocence of our children. That is why God has entrusted them to us. So if you take those two components, I will guarantee you someone's going to think twice about allowing those kids to go over the borders of states and have that happen in their states.
I'm going to jump in here and say exactly right. I'll go a step farther because I'm a pastor. We're both preachers. I'm in the pastorate. Pastors, you've got to be more engaged as well, because you've got to get off your financial series and realize that we have more important things than our money. We have our children at stake here, and we have got to be more engaged because we realize we're in a spiritual warfare, and Satan wants to get us off the target. He is not fighting the church. He's infiltrating the church to make sure that he controls the narrative. So he wants to keep us quiet. Lisa, you hit the nail on the head when you said children are the image bearers of God. Satan has always had it out for children because they bear his image and created in his image. So what you're doing, and certainly what you're proposing, is not only necessary, but it is We have no choice. We have nowhere else to go. And we have to, as a twofold battle, because we've got the spiritual warfare aspect of it, because we as the church have got to become more engaged, get off of our blessed assurance and stand up for Jesus, which means if you're going to stand up for Jesus, you're going to stand up for children.
Mm-hmm.
But in regard, we've got to use the legislative powers of our states to stop the tide of this coming.
That's right.
The fact that we are having to fight to stop the very health providers that have taken a Hippocratic oath not to do any harm
Exactly.
is completely ludicrous to me. The fact that we have to fight for our children. This is America. Man, haven't we gone down fast in a heartbeat?
And y'all actually led protests against some of these clinics, like the one in Charlotte. This doctor that has become nationally known for like sex reassignment surgeries for like toddlers. I mean, tell us about that.
Yeah, we've led protests at two different gender mutilation clinics, as we call them, lately. One is the Cosmetic Concierge. That was actually, that little piece was broken by Libs of TikTok. That news was released by them. And they are doing it down to the age of 14, that they've documented and bragged about on their website. They're showing half-naked children before and after pictures of them after having double mastectomies as young as 14 years old. So that's one clinic, and that's the doctor that's nationally recognized. And then the other clinic is Atrium Health, which is one of the largest providers of healthcare in our area. And they are now targeting children. Now, they do not want to say how young they're going, but they are at least 11 years old is what we've seen. And they're saying they're not doing the surgery. They might be referring it out, but they're definitely doing it as far as puberty blockers go. And puberty blockers are dangerous.
Terribly dangerous. I mean, we've even seen, Jessica, recently East Carolina University, Duke University, who's put out this literature saying that children as young as 2 and 3 years old have enough mentality and cognitive ability about them to make this decision for them. Are we serious here? I mean,
it's unbelievable.
What should the legislature be doing here for these schools that are doing this ridiculous garbage?
So two questions I have. Number one, Lisa, what you just mentioned, has the websites of these organizations, has the website been scrubbed of this, or is it still on there? Do you know?
I am not sure. They are constantly changing things. We know that for a fact that they have pulled the images from the Cosmetic Concierge website with the teenagers' pictures on there. So I know that's been done. They're constantly updating things because they want to cover their tracks. They don't want this exposed, which is exactly why we should be following Ephesians 5:11 and exposing them. So that's our job as Christians, is to expose this evil.
And the second thing is, what do you say? How do you respond? Because we know that a fellow journalist here in this state has broken and spent much of their time detailing ECU and their transgender garbage and their mutilation of children, breaking that story, and they have denied it. What do you say? What do you say to someone specifically when they say the organizations totally deny it? What's your response?
Well, I would just say, I'm sorry, Lisa, you can go ahead.
Go ahead.
I'd like to hear from both of you on this.
Yes.
Okay. I would just say the evidence is there. They have not shied away from what you just said. They have had interviews with these medical directors. It's very easy for you to find as a citizen, especially with ECU, Duke, and UNC hospital systems. Those three systems in North Carolina have forthrightly come forward and said all the way down to the age of 2, for, let's say, 2 for Duke, 3 for UNC, and 4 for ECU. And that's based on what Nathan had just mentioned, was that they believe that there's some type of information showing that a child as young as 3 or 4 years old can choose their gender and understand sexuality. And so they're not hiding it. This is a practice that's been going on for several years. The problem they're having is they're being exposed, like Lisa said. You see, the Christian church is standing up now, and we're saying, we're not going to stand by on our watch any longer. And I'll tell you guys this, I say this often when being interviewed or asked questions. We, as a Christian church, when Roe v. Wade was instituted at the Supreme Court level, the church did not stand up, and it did not make its voice heard. I would just plead with your listeners to really wake up to the fact that we are in one of those moments right now in history for America, that if we do not, as the Christian church, stand up and make it known that we are to protect the innocence of children, we are going to look back, and this is going to be a stain on history. And so, Lisa and I both feel so passionately about the fact that, not only do we have to look at our maker one day and give account for how we spent our lives, but we look into the eyes of our children and our future grandchildren. And when they ask, what did you do during this time period? We want to be able to say, this is what we did to fight the atrocities of this day.
Absolutely.
And Lisa, same kind of concept. And I know that we've really focused on the transgender and the sexualization of our children aspect of this. We've not even gotten into the books that are in the schools. We definitely want to cover that. We also want to cover abortion and your fight against abortion as well. But to kind of wrap up this segment with you ladies and this fight against transgender, these sex changes, this mutilation that Jessica has really given a great call to our churches for. What can you also follow up on that as well?
Yeah, just like she said, it's important. Now is the time to stand up. If we do not stand up, we are going to watch our communities and our country fall. It is up to us. Our time is now. We were created for such a time as this. I'm hearing people say, oh, we can't bring children into this world because of the condition it's in. Absolutely, we should. Our children were made for such a time as this. We need warriors on the front line. We need to raise those warriors. We need to be being a demonstration to them as to how to be true Christ followers, putting feet to our beliefs and getting out there on the front line, standing for what Jesus would have us stand for.
That is fantastic. Exactly. And look, I would say this in wrapping up. I would say that, folks, you've got to come back to this episode. We're going to have Jessica and Lisa back on with us again in our next episode, and we definitely want to we're going to continue to address these issues of sexualization of our children with the books in our schools and how this is all happening. And then the abortion issue, we need to address this abortion issue. We want to find out what Protect NC Kids and what the Mom Army is Charlotte, what they are doing to fight, what you can do to fight with them. Folks, look, Lenin said it. Lenin said, give me a child for 8 years and I'll make him a communist for life. That's exactly what this leftist, socialist, Marxist organization that is running our country right now, what this administration wants to do. And they want to normalize pedophilia to the point to where becomes LGBTQIA plus P, whatever that they want it to be, so that they can prey on our children. We must stand up against this evil that is coming against our children. And folks, we need more warriors like these two women who are willing to put their necks out there, who are willing to take all the slings and arrows and the stones that are being thrown at them and say, bring it. We're going to stand strong for our children, for our nation, for our heritage. Stand strong for that which God has given us the protectorate over. Pastor, I applaud these two women, and I can't wait to talk about more issues with them.
No, I applaud them as well. And if there's any, and I hesitate to say this, if there's any silver lining in any of this, it has finally awakened us up.
Amen.
To actually gird up our loins and fight, because when they come after our children, come hell or high water, I don't care who you are, and I certainly don't care where you are. Right. You brought the fight to me, and I am bringing the fight to you. And when I come, I'm bringing all of heaven with me, and we're going to make it a total hell for them, because that's where they're going scripturally, and I make no bones about it. We will do whatever's necessary, shed blood, whatever necessary.
Yes.
I'm willing to die. That's the hill I'm willing to die on for my
Amen.
children and the children of the next generation. So thank you, ladies, for coming on. We certainly look forward to the next episode. And Dr. Street, take us out.
Yes, folks, look, we want you to join with us. Join with these ladies. Let's lock arms. We need to be together on this. There is strength in numbers. We're standing right now, make it publicly known. We are going to stand with Jessica, and we're going to stand with Lisa. We stand with Protect NC Kids. We stand with the Mom Army out there. We've stood with the Moms for Liberty as well. We are with this group of warrior women, and we are going to back them to the hilt, and we're going to stand with them and stand on the front lines of this battle. Ladies, thank you so much for being with us. Folks, come back again. Do not miss this next episode. I'm telling you, it's going to be fire, y'all. Thank you so much for joining us. We'll see you next time. Carolina Conservatives, we are preachers with a punch.
God bless you.